Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Real to Real Talk. I am Sergio Barrera, and it's time once again to talk all things movies. Joining me, as always, the other Real to Real Talker, Paul Britton. I need to come up with a shorter intro because, goodness gracious, I've been doing that one for years.
It's factually correct. What are you going to do?
It is.
You know?
Welcome to Real World Talk, Paul.
Yeah. Hey, what's up?
Welcome.
Yeah.
Happy Tuesday and happy first episode after awards season.
Yeah.
And we have a little bit of a fun one this week.
I'm really excited. I had so much fun with this one. I literally just changed my list again before we came on. That's how.
Yeah.
So.
In researching this topic, which we'll introduce in just a second, it was one of those things where I was like, oh man, it was like the possibilities were endless, which is unfortunate to some degree. But yeah, it was a lot of fun because with the and I feel like we need to qualify this because all of this discussion we're about to have is going to end up with our review of Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
And by the way, just going to premise, are absolutely appropriate for the topic.
Oh, well, interesting you say that because I'm looking forward to talking about the film and some things surrounding its box office because damn. And so with that being said, excuse me, one of the things that we were sort of marveling at, not a Marvel pun, is that within the cast of this film, and I said Helen Mirren, and that's kind of what motivated the topic we're going to be doing today as our opening discussion, but Lucy Liu as well, right?
Yeah. But she's done Sever versus X, so she's not totally immune to this.
Sure, no, absolutely. And Jimin Hansu, I mean, but he was in the first one. Anyway,
yeah, he was.
So
right.
I'm just going to throw the title up on the screen because our discussion topic today. And it was edited mere seconds before we went.
Yeah, I apologize. That's on me. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Bad movies, great actors, also known as "What are you doing in this film?"
Yeah.
So, and one of the reasons, or the reason that we decided to pursue this as our conversational topic was because number one, it's been a while since we've done, a segment like this. That's motivated by so what's out there now that we're beyond the awards season.
We can't have a whole conversation on Shazam. So
right. Although I will say, I finally saw the first one this week, and that was delightful. That was entertaining. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But again, a Helen Mirren in a film like Shazam: Fury of the Gods was like, huh? And so we thought, well, there are times when, great actors, they do things just last week, 65, Adam Driver. What the heck, man? What happened?
No, that's.
So what we agreed on was that we would each bring 5 titles of films that made us either think, oh, wow, what are you doing in this movie? Or I called it Bad Movies, Great Actors, because that was sort of the take I took. But you had a bit of a variant. I don't know if you want to explain that, or maybe we just start and you'll tell me what you were thinking.
Well, when we get to it, it'll be obvious.
Gotcha. So one of the things that I found as I was doing my research for this list, because is the potential is unfortunately far bigger than I anticipated it would be. And as with many topics of this type, when you go down the rabbit hole of other people who've written about this particular topic, you do see some commonalities. There are some movies that appear on lists pretty consistently.
Right.
So I tried to stay away from published lists. I just was like, okay, Sergio, in your economy of movies you've seen over the years, what were the ones that stood out? And so if you're cool with it, Paul, I'll start off and we'll do like we've done. We'll trade off turns. And we'll go through the 10 films that I'm
totally cool with you doing doing that. I will say that I tried to stick to movies I stick to only movies that I'd seen. Like,
Okay.
so there were a couple movies when I was looking at those lists, like you mentioned, I was like, oh yeah, that's a good example. I'm not going to take that one because and there is, my first one is going to be one that's right off of all of the lists, but it has to
Sure.
be discussed. So, but go ahead. You first.
And I think I'm going to predict that there's a pretty good chance we might have some overlap
Potentially.
for the first time in quite a few
Yeah.
of these.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp, if you look over the course of his filmography, there are quite a few of these, and none worse than Mordecai.
I don't even know that one.
So here's the thing. I didn't want to know it, but years ago when it came out, I don't know why, I think he was sort of on a roll, and I thought, okay, let's give this a go. This was a mistake. This was hours I couldn't get back. He plays a sort of a art connoisseur kind of guy, and very convoluted plot, horrible acting. It was just really bad. And so the movie Mordecai, the simple fact that it doesn't show up on your radar, Paul.
Oh my goodness, I do remember this now.
Oh, you do? Okay.
I didn't see it, but
Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I sort of have this love-hate relationship with Johnny Depp because he does such great work, but then he has such bombs. And you just get to a point where you're like, okay, I'll forgive him again. Well, I'm not going to fully break up with him. Mordecai was the closest I ever came because it was just like, dude, come on. Like, you have this career.
Wow.
But I
this
think
cast is amazing.
Right? But I think it could be said that that's the thing. If I want to turn this into a spin to the positive,
yeah.
Like Adam Driver, he's made a decision that says, I'm going to do what I want to do. Hopefully Adam only does it this once. Johnny Depp has made a career of doing this kind of stuff.
Excellent entry. That's totally, like you said, totally off my radar just because I'd never seen it or anything. But now looking at it, I was like, oh yes, I do remember. Like that was like dead in the middle of, I just don't get to see as many movies as I once did for me. But yeah, like
if I remember correctly, Rotten Tomatoes 11%. So
Metacritic score on IMDb was 25, which is bad. Like anything under 50 is like terrible on that score. So yeah.
So there we go. Let's get rolling.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going with this. My first one is it's just the obvious, and I'm starting with a softball. Judi Dench in Cats, and really
that was gonna be my top.
Okay, and really the whole cast.
Thank you.
Like, the whole cast is amazing, and it's very. What do you guys? But I get everybody else. Like, honestly, like you could go down the list and just be like, Jennifer Hudson gets to sing Memories. I mean, come on.
Right, well, okay,
Idris Elba gets to be sort of like a pimp cat. That's fun. Blah 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 blah. What is Judi? Like, I am highlighting Judi Dench here because
absolutely.
What is Judi Dench doing in this movie?
I'm gonna just real quick. Here's my list. Very last entry: Cats, Dame Judi Dench, and in parentheses, and everyone.
Yeah.
And so,
so this is, like I said, this is the one that it was on all the lists, and that I couldn't take off because it's too like, wow.
Yeah.
So and Brett Dean mentions Nicolas Cage in The Wicker Man. And here's the I do want to talk about this one really quick. So
absolutely.
So shout out to Brett Dean for mentioning The Wicker Man. Problem one, if you read these lists online, like The Wicker Man with Nick Cage is on all of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And problem two is that if you look at and we've recently done this episode, but if you look at Nicolas Cage's IMDb, it's littered with just shit movies.
Oh, absolutely.
So it becomes, even though The Wicker Man was done at a time when Nicolas Cage was actually making good movies, it is watered down due to the garbage that he's made recently. So
it almost gets saved.
Yeah.
But no, and I again, and dear friend Brett Dean from we've known each other for years. Wicker Man didn't make my list simply because I put Cats, Dame Judi.
Okay.
So no, but no, that's a good call out on Brett's part. That
Yeah,
definitely,
for sure.
yeah.
That would be a good honorable mention. I do have 2 honorable mentions, but we'll get to that later.
Gotcha.
So go ahead.
All right. So next on my list, I love action movies. I love silly action movies. I love action movies more so than I probably should. But every so often one comes up and it's just like, what?
Yeah.
And the one that I just cannot forgive Charlize Theron for is Aeon Flux.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible film.
Yeah.
Every premise of it should, for myself as an action fan lover, I
Yeah.
should have enjoyed this film. Not even
I'm
close.
I'm assuming you did not watch the MTV show.
The MTV show?
The MTV cartoon Aeon Flux that this is
No.
based on.
No.
Okay.
I simply watched the movie when it came out, and so I
Okay.
had no context.
Yeah. If you watched, like, I can't fathom having watched the animated MTV show.
Okay.
I can't fathom anybody who actually watched that thinking, hey, they could actually do a good job with this movie and going in and expecting something good. I didn't even bother to go to see this movie. I have not seen it. Just because it's like this is not translatable into a live action movie, and there's no way they could get that. But yeah, I mean that's a great example.
Yeah, no. The last thing I was going to say was I remember giving it a second chance, a while after it came out, because I thought, maybe it was just a mindset. Maybe no, it's a bad movie. It's a very bad movie. And I'm usually pretty generous with action films, but not this time.
Yeah.
So,
hey, did you know that they've been doing bad action movies forever and ever and ever, and this is not a recent phenomenon? And an example is the Poseidon Adventure starring Gene Hackman.
Yes. Oh man, you just brought me back.
This one gets bonus because it is first of all, Gene Hackman just won the Oscar for French Connection. Okay,
right.
so literally the year before is like, hey, French Connection, Gene Hackman. Hey, Poseidon Adventure, Gene Hackman. Second of all, this is like just the 1973-72 version of here are all of the D-listers that we could get to come out and be in our movie, and Gene Hackman, and the role that he plays is just inexplicable. Like he's a priest on a cruise. What? Like I don't. It is so weird, and this is a movie that I will actually absolutely sit down and watch if it's on.
Yeah.
But it's a bad movie. Like it's just a ridiculous movie. And like Gene Hackman like lends credence to this movie that it just does not deserve. And it's so weird.
Yeah. Yeah. That one, oh my goodness. But that was the era of the disaster film.
It was.
And so, when you put it right up there with, what is it? Oh
Airport.
God. And
the Earthquake.
What was the skyscraper one? I can't think of it. Towering Inferno. Yeah, these were a thing back then.
But it's interesting because Towering Inferno, like, that had Steve McQueen. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. That's tough. That's tough.
We should probably at some point do just a quick episode on mid-70s disaster film.
I'm sure there's a disaster film coming out this summer, and we'll
wrap it around that.
We'll table this conversation for whatever crap disaster movies coming out this summer.
I love it. That's gonna be fun. All right. I hope it's not too soon, but we wish continued healing to our pal Jeremy Renner.
Okay.
But he once made a film called Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters, and
that sounds cool.
Okay, so here's the thing. I enjoyed it, but I can't not admit that it's a bad movie.
Understood.
Have you not seen it?
I have not.
Oh, have some fun.
Okay.
Find some time. But know that when you come back and go, Sir John, be like, I know.
Okay.
But man, this was so Jeremy Renner, I forget his co-star. It was just, I was like, oh God, I know I'm making a mistake by coming to see this film. And I actually made Jen go with me, and she still to this day has not forgiven me.
Oh my
But
goodness.
it's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous.
I mean,
Uh,
his co-star is Gemma Adderton, who I don't even
yeah,
recognize at all.
she's appeared in several things that you're like, oh look, it's her. But yeah, no, this was a bad movie.
She
I
was in
was just
Prince of Persia. Hey, that could have been on our list.
there.
Uh,
It almost made mine. It
yeah.
almost made mine. But
Um,
yeah,
cool.
Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. Jeremy did survive that
Yeah. See,
because of some great films he's
and
done.
this is why this building this list was fun.
Yeah.
My next one is Antonio Banderas in 13th Ward. I'm kidding.
I was wondering. I was like, is it going to make an appearance?
I won't do that. No, my next one is the first one where it's like, actually, this is a good movie, but still, what the hell is this person doing in this movie?
Okay.
I got Marlon Brando in the original Superman.
Oh.
Now here's the thing: is he
Okay.
plays Superman's father, Jor-El, or Kal-El in the original Superman movie, and he famously he's in the movie for like 2 minutes or something
Sure,
like that,
sure.
and was paid $1 million, like at the time an exorbitant fee
Mhm.
for less than a day's worth of work, and like it's genuinely infamous in how much he was paid. Like his screen time, his per minute screen time pay, whatever it was, forever and ever the highest ever for an actor. And so I get how he ended up in it and all that sort of fun stuff, but it's still fascinating to me that they just decided, hey, let's just break the bank and, take 1/10 of our total budget and give it to Marlon Brando to be in this movie for 5 minutes, when it's a completely inconsequential role, and we could have anybody do it. Literally anybody that is just popping off the street and nobody's ever heard of, and nobody would know any better. But the difference is I'm sure in 1979, when Superman came out, having Marlon Brando and Superman was probably something that would have brought in like 5 extra people. But I can't believe that. Like, I mean, it was a Superman movie. Who's not going to see a Superman? So
sure,
it's just really weird that he was in that.
Yeah. Do you have any other Marlon Brando films on your list, or Marlon Brando?
The Island of Dr. Monroe did not end up, only because that's a very famous book.
Yeah.
The original director attached was, big at the time. It that was just one of those instances where the movie just didn't work for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, it just didn't. I mean, it had Val Kilmer in it too. So
right,
and
on, so that's why I was asking, because that almost made my list. And when you said Marlon Brando, I thought that was the direction you were going to go. So
no, I
get
went,
what you're saying.
I went with a movie but it's just like, what are they doing here? Like, what's he?
Yeah.
Why is he in this movie?
Yeah, I get that completely. Totally understand. All right. Well, again, and there quite a few of mine were action movies, obviously, now that I look upon it. Michael Fassbender has become, over the years, the last few years, one of my favorite actors. I absolutely love his work. And this film, I was surprised he was in it after watching it, because I was like, whoa. Assassin's Creed.
Okay.
Again, a film from a video game franchise, not always easy to do. But wow, this was, and listen, I have, now that I'm sort of in the world of video games, I am more familiar with the video game franchise of Assassin's Creed. I like what it's about, but this movie, Michael Fassbender can't save it. It's just so poorly done. It's just so all over the place. And upon attempt to rewatch it just a few weeks ago, I was like, no, I can't. This is so convoluted.
Oh, wow.
It was one of the, every year I've been doing, up until this past year, I had done like several years in a row of the end of the year, 5 movies at the end of the year that my marathon movie weekend. And that was like film number 3 of 5 that weekend. And I remember falling asleep. I was like, oh no, like, what did I miss?
That's a bad sign.
Yeah. So Michael Fassbender, what were you doing in Assassin's Creed? That, like you said, for your other, it could have been anybody.
Yeah.
but hey, it's a misstep, and
Mm,
he
That's
probably admits it himself. So
he's doing okay.
he is.
My next one is also I twisted the thing a little bit, and
Okay,
um, just because it's fun to do that. I'm going with Gangs of New York with Cameron Diaz, where it's like, why is Cameron Diaz in this role? Like, how did that casting happen? Like, you want to talk about a movie that I love. I do love Gangs of New
it's
York, and,
awesome.
it's
Yeah,
there. It's problematic. There are problems with the movie,
sure,
but like,
sure.
problem number one was Cameron Diaz. Like, I can't imagine at what point during any pre-prep process
Yeah,
Cameron Diaz. And by the way, I like Cameron Diaz in movies. Okay,
sure.
there are tons of movies where Cameron Diaz is just this is perfect. This is exactly where she should be. She's great. She's done serious roles where
Yeah,
she's been fantastic. But this movie just doesn't work on
painful.
any level
Yeah,
at all. And I can't fathom. I mean, they fucking reshot all of Back to the Future to get the right Marty McFly. You're telling me after 2 minutes they didn't know that Cameron Diaz was wrong for this movie? And I know
yeah,
it's famous for going 10 times over its budget and all that sort of stuff. But at some point, somebody who'd early on had to see Cameron Diaz and be like, ooh, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah. It
So,
is. I'm glad that made the list because and thinking about it, as much as I love watching that film over and over. It's a
yeah,
painful. I have fast forwarded through her scenes,
I
especially all of the scenes where we initially meet her.
oh
The scene where she dances with Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like I
yeah.
can't. They're
I
painful scenes to
I
watch.
can't, I
Yeah,
can't, I can't,
yeah, they're
I
bad.
can't do it. She
So bad.
and I would not have included it if I didn't genuinely like Cameron Diaz in a lot of things.
Gotcha.
This is not it. No.
Gotcha. Well, my last entry already came up because it was Judy Dench,
Okay.
Dame Judy Dench in Cats. So I don't have like you, I don't have any uh,
Honorable
honorable
mentions.
mentions, but I do want to talk about a couple of quick things
Sure.
in place of my fifth, and that's well, I guess they were honorable mentions, but um, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves gave us Alan Rickman.
Mm,
So when you look at the body of his work and you go back to 1991, you're like, man, Alan Rickman, thanks so much for finding Die Hard, and
right.
then everything remedied from there.
Yeah. Die Hard gave us
Although
Alan
he,
Rickman. Let's
yes,
be
that's true.
okay. Yeah.
Although I will say that in that movie, which I know you love Kevin Costner, he was
It's
a bright spot. He was a
Alan
bright spot.
Rickman
He
was
was hilarious in
Alan
that.
Rickman's amazing in that. Alan
Yeah.
Rickman is the only person in that movie that actually knows what movie he's in. Like everybody else
I
is
almost spit soda when you said that.
way too serious. Like
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman knew, but you could tell that like Kevin Costner was probably getting mad at him during all of their scenes
Sure.
together. And
Yeah.
so like Morgan Freeman was just, oh shit. All right, I'll do.
Yeah.
But Alan Rickman knew.
Yeah.
Why a spoon?
Yeah. Because it was hurt more. Yeah, thanks, Susan, for the famous line from Alan Rickman in that film. I'll cut your heart
Yeah.
with a spoon. One last thing. I absolutely hated the movie Along Came Polly. Maybe an unpopular opinion, but Philip Seymour Hoffman, his performance was out of bounds, and I loved it.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so I was really.
I don't think hating
No.
Along Came Polly is a hot take here. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So there you go. That's what I had. So, what's your final entry? Which, of course, the list could have
Okay.
gone on.
So yeah. So I'm not pretending that this actor is great in any way, shape, or form,
Okay.
but he has won an Oscar.
Mhm.
A Best Actor Oscar, not even just a Best Supporting Actor Oscar. And this movie is a classic. I saw this movie at the right time in my life.
Mhm.
It was on cable all the time, nonstop. So I had seen it like a bazillion times. This is, this almost predates VCRs type of like on cable. And the actor is Ernest Borgnine, and the movie is Super Fuzz. Have you ever seen Super Fuzz?
A long time ago.
Yeah. And like this, when I first got cable, 1979, Um, this is a you know, and I don't know what your Superfuzz, but shortly after I got cable, Superfuzz was just one of the movie that was always,
Always on.
always, always on. All right,
Yeah.
it just constantly on. And my brother and I had probably sat down to watch it like a half a billion times, and just it's such a bad movie. It is just an absolutely atrocious movie.
Yeah.
But goddamn if we didn't love it. And it stars Ernest Borgnine, and I was way too young to have any idea who the hell Ernest Borgnine was. And then only later in life did I find out, oh wait, Ernest Borgnine is famous, but he was in Superfuzz. That movie sucks. And then I found out, wait a second, Ernest Borgnine won an Academy Award. He was in Superfuzz. That movie sucks. So
much later.
Yeah, much later. So yeah, shout out to Superfuzz. God bless you. Nice. I love you so much. But you are a terrible movie.
I would never have guessed that movie would make an appearance. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
I might have to do just, next year for my What the Hell Did I Just Watch, like skeletons from Paul's closets, and just pull out shit that I have seen multiple times that I know are terrible, but I want people to watch.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Let's see. Real quick, I do want to address this question. Brett Dean asked our thoughts on Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you go to our last 2 episodes, we do talk about that film in a lot of detail, and we did review it back when it first came out.
Yeah.
Falling asleep. He says, I love Jamie Lee Curtis, but I've fallen asleep twice while watching it. It has a polarizing effect on some people.
I don't understand falling asleep during that movie, but hey, it's not for everybody for sure.
Brett Dean, what I will say is that Paul and I have 2 completely different opinions about the film. He loved it. I didn't, but I get what you're saying. So, but yeah, I was not happy with the results of the Oscars overall. So, so hopefully that'll do for now. And I'll reach out to you, Brett Dean. I'll tell you more when we can talk. So this whole notion of, what are these actors doing in this film? It does, it reminds us that, actors will sometimes make missteps, or they will sometimes accidentally fall into a role that we're like, wow, okay, that kind of worked. So, it just depends. Mm-hmm. So this was fun. I feel like we could have gone on.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that could have been said.
So I do want to just.
You had some honorable mentions.
Yeah, Robert De Niro in the Rocky and Bullwinkle movie as the fearless leader.
Oh, that's so right.
Terrible movie, but look, he's hamming it up. He's Robert De Niro. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Yeah. And this is a movie that I haven't seen, but like popped up on the internet list that I actually now want to go watch because it's prescient for a movie that's coming out. Is 2000s Dungeons and Dragons, starred Jeremy Irons, also in a movie that you mentioned earlier, Assassin's Creed.
Yep.
I have to go watch that. Apparently, it's horrible. But yeah.
Yeah. Did you come close at all to Raul Julia in Street Fighter?
I had never seen Street Fighter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I wasn't a Street Fighter guy. I was a Mortal Kombat guy. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, because great films there. Just kidding.
Remember when we reviewed the reboot? Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Oh my goodness. That was bad.
We've had some fun.
Yeah.
No, it's I kept that one off my list. I thought about it, but I was like, no, back when he made that film, we lost him shortly after.
Yeah.
And out of respect. But I guess I've gone to mention it. So sorry, Raul Julia. Right. I love you. So
that's all right. We do.
All right. Fun times. I'm glad we got a chance to go back to doing an episode like this. I know we have some time to do that now throughout the year. So fun times. All right. Well, that again leads us into our review of the movie Shazam! Fury of the Gods.
Yeah.
Because again, Helen Mirren is in this film, and as I think about this movie, I shared with you before we went on air, or maybe I was at the top of the show. I finally saw the first one last week.
Yeah,
and I never had an interest in it because I was like, Shazam, okay, whatever, like no big deal. But then I watched it and I was like, this was fun. It was a enjoyable film. I don't know how you felt about the first one, Paul.
I really enjoyed the first one.
Yep.
The first one was surprisingly good. Like I had zero hopes and interest in the first one just because of the terrible streak that DC had been on.
Sure.
I hated Dawn of Justice. I hated Justice League. And so it just was like, oh, this is not going to be good. But then it was good. Like it was like, oh my god, people are right. This is genuinely good.
Yeah. But then this movie happened.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, this movie did not do well in its opening weekend. It
30 and change,
30 million and change.
Yeah.
I was watching. There's our friend Nick Kramer. He watches a guy by the name of John Campia. You're probably familiar. I only know because and he reviews movies and he knows the business inside and out. So, and he did a list of movies that did better than this film did, and one of them was Morbius, by 9 million.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
is that true?
It is true. It's
oh my god!
True. And it was like,
no,
wow.
Morbius is so much worse than please don't let's not compare Morbius to this. Like this is fucking Avengers Endgame compared to Morbius. Let's not crime. No.
What so what it's got an 88% critics rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Fury of the Gods.
No,
it's not. It did last I looked. It might have panned out.
It's at 51 for it's 51? Audience is 87.
Audience 51, 88 critics.
No, you have that flip flop. 51 critics, 88, 87 audience.
Okay, maybe I flip. Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
someone likes it. I wanted to.
The audiences like it, but
yeah,
the audience
I wanted to like this film, but nobody's going. Good gravy!
No.
Like no one's going to see this film.
No,
and it was fun. But man, it got convoluted in the last act. And come on, one of these days, Paul, let's talk about my feelings about mid-credit and post-credit scenes.
Okay,
because I'm over them.
Okay,
they do nothing but convolute things, and I'm
gonna. My problem is that Marvel does them, and it leads to stuff.
Okay,
DC does them, and the next movie, you're just like, I thought we were doing this and that. Like DC does them just to fuck with your head and say, hey, wouldn't this be fun? We're not going to do that.
But I will say that I was already tired of them before we ever got to like the last two Avengers films, Endgame and it. I was anyway. Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. This film just goes on and goes on and goes on, and it's like
it does.
What in the world? It got too convoluted.
And it's interesting because I didn't mind the third act as much as I minded the first act, where it does the one superhero trope that I dislike immensely. That thank God they don't do that much anymore. But unfortunately, this movie brought it back, which is I don't know if I can really be a superhero.
That got old fast.
It got old really, really fucking fast. And you know what I don't fucking want to watch in a superhero movie? I don't know.
An indecisive superhero.
I don't care.
Even when you can credit to it because he's a young man and young kid. And,
that's even worse. Like that's because it's already been done, and it's already been done poorly before, and it has yet to be done well. So can we not do it anymore? Like I can't fathom anyone writing a script and thinking this is really gonna work. This is going to relate everything to the audience. And the reality is that if we're talking about the kids in the movie, it's like I much prefer what oh gosh, what's his name? Jack Dylan Grazer is doing as Freddie Freeman than than what Zach Levy and / Asher Angel is doing as Billy Batson / Shazam. Even though Asher is barely in the movie and he spends 99% of it as Zach Levy, which is fine.
Right. Yeah.
But I much prefer this is fucking awesome. I have fucking superpowers. Yes. And then dealing with consequences of that is way more interesting than I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I think therein lies the issue with this film, is that the reason the first one was so charming was because of that entirety of the film being about like, oh my gosh, this is,
Right. Right.
when you get into this kind of a complex story, and we can't not talk about Lucy Liu and Helen Mirren and the
Right.
roles they played, and it's
Right.
like, okay, great, they were there, but it's just I think there's a struggle to keep an audience connected when the charm
Right.
of it is no longer needed.
Right.
know?
The thing about Helen Mirren is it's obvious what they were trying to do, and like too obvious, because
Yeah.
Kate Blanchett did, and actually the change that I made on my list in the last second was I took Kate Blanchett and Thor Ragnarok out.
Oh,
Because
okay.
I felt like I had too many, oh, this is actually a good movie and I like this movie, but what
Gotcha.
is this person? I didn't want to have that one again. So so the idea for Helen Mirren was clearly, here is somebody as badass as Kate Blanchett playing Hera, and not
yeah.
Hera.
No, Hella.
Shit.
Why can't I think of the name?
Yeah.
Anyway, I know who
Begins with an H. In Thor Ragnarok, they're casting her specifically to be that,
right?
And that's just not who Helen Mirren is. Like, she's a different actress than Kate Blanchett, and it doesn't, ultimately it doesn't work, and this is another problem with the DC comic book movies, which is they just have a really hard time finding their villains, and I didn't hate these villains as much as, say, like the villain that I can't even remember who the fuck it was from the first Suicide Squad movie, or the villain from the stupid Justice League movie. Either one, I don't care which one you pick. They were both terrible villains. It wasn't quite that bad, but it was still just like, where, like you said, in that third act, where are you going? Like, I felt like, okay, in the third act I get where they're going, but it just like getting there was just like, oi.
I found myself thinking I would have been okay with another Savannah film, like, keep pursuing Mark Strong's character in this second film, and I wouldn't have been disappointed. But like everything else, they try to, the DC universe is trying to sort of create this realm of films that sort of progress, and but then they don't really progress the story because you're not left with enough consistency.
For when it to feel like just put Mark Strong in your movie. I think that's a really good
Mark Strong. Listen, we need to do an entire episode on Mark Strong at some point because he is so underappreciated.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. Every time he pops up in a movie, I'm like, this is gonna be a good movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's amazing.
I don't know what to say. Like, and the crazy thing is that, like, that Black Adam movie was one of the worst movies I'd seen last year, and and he's supposed to be one of the key, like, characters in the Shazam universe, and they just have no idea how to tie anything together. And maybe Black Adam is better if they introduce him in this movie and some way. There's just, and I hope James Gunn is able to add some direction here, like, to everything. And I there is good. There's still some good to be pulled from the Shazam franchise. Unfortunately, the kids are going to be aging out, so I don't know. I don't know what to tell you about that. Like, not all of the kids will age out. The young girl will still be pretty young, but everybody else is getting old. They're like, getting there, I don't believe any of them that were in high school anymore. But there's good here. I just don't know how you like. I don't. And the biggest problem, like you mentioned, the end credits scenes. It's like the one thing that in Black Adam that was just added horrible onto horrible was the Justice Society, and like they brought that up in this movie. It's like, no, we don't want the Justice. Nobody wants the Justice Society. Please just stop with
there's I literally can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that I didn't walk out of this film going, "Ooh, I can't wait to hope to make a new one." Like, no, I don't know. And there weren't enough people watching it for me to think that anybody's thinking that. So.
And but also I will say this: I didn't walk out mad. Like, I didn't walk
Okay.
out hating it. I was just like, the missed opportunity. I wish they had saved 20 minutes up front and not done the whole. I don't want to be a superhero.
It's so
Like,
well portrayed.
I just don't need that. I
Yeah.
just
Well,
don't
then
need
I'm curious to know, as we do here on our show, maybe we can get as many as 5 tacos plus guac. Where do we land then, Paul? Given what you just said on Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Look, it's 3 tacos. I was fine with it. I was fine with it. Like,
Yeah.
I guess you could make an argument for 2 tacos plus guac. It's definitely better than 2 tacos though. Like, like I said, I kind of foreshadowed this when I said I wasn't mad walking out. I genuinely wasn't mad walking out, but I also wasn't happy. I wasn't
Right.
like, I'm not excited about anything going on, in this world. But
I'm gonna make the argument for 2 tacos plus guac,
okay.
simply because, again, I didn't walk out of this film thinking, that it was. It didn't for all of its hype. A
Right.
friend of mine said more than once before I saw it, I'm so glad that I'm not going to have to see that trailer anymore. The trailer always hyped me. Like, I always felt like, and that's before I saw the first film. I was like, This looks huge. This looks big. Like, DC, maybe they're onto something. No, it didn't deliver for me, and not at a 3 level, because I'm not going to want to go see it again, and I don't care if the franchise continues. So
yeah, no, that's true.
yeah, so
Yeah,
that's
valid.
me.
But I am where I am.
Yeah, no, and that's why we do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, make sure you form your own opinion. So make sure you head to the theaters to find Shazam: Fury of the Gods and let us know what you think and how many tacos you'd give it. So with that, we are now going to move forward into something we haven't had a chance to do for a few weeks, and that is our weekly segments. I'm excited that we're getting back to it.
Yes.
Because, Paul, it's time once again for you to talk about what the hell you watched.
Yeah.
Because I'm ready for the weirdness. Bring it.
All right. So the movie I'm doing today is called The Hunger. It is not Ridley Scott. Who's his brother? Damn it.
Tony
Scott. Yes, it's Tony Scott.
It is Tony Scott.
It's Tony Scott's first feature-length movie directorial debut. Yep. Which is pretty interesting. By the way, he made Top Gun like 4 years after The Hunger came out. Stars David Bowie. Now, so just some quick backstory. Back in December, I did movies featuring musicians that really should have killed their careers. And The Hunger was originally on that list, and I was going to do it in late December, but we ended up like canceling. We were one show short, so The Hunger was not on that list because of that. But then it's been sitting on my HBO to watch list because I knew I would get to it eventually. And then it's leaving HBO Max at the end of the month. So everybody go and watch The Hunger, Tony Scott's first movie with David Bowie. Completely incomprehensible. I mean, it's a vampire movie, and you don't know it's a vampire movie until maybe like 10 minutes left in the movie. Like you might not know. It might take that long. I might be exaggerating a teeny tiny bit. It stars Susan Sarandon. Amazing, like top peak form. Susan Sarandon,
she's fantastic.
Just absolutely an absolute banger performance. Where just I don't know what the fuck she does. Like I don't know what she's doing. I don't. I love it. I know she's a phlebotomist. A blood doctor. Yeah. Okay. The fact that it's a vampire movie and she's a phlebotomist and they don't tie those two things together.
It doesn't register. Yeah.
They don't bring in the fact that she's a phlebotomist and in a vampire movie and possibly one of the hottest lesbian sex scenes ever put to film ever that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
With Susan Sarandon and
Catherine Deneuve.
And Catherine Deneuve. 11 out of 10 hot sex scene, by the way.
Yeah.
I think I figured out by the end of the movie, I think I figured out what was going on in this movie, but there's just absolutely no clues throughout.
Right. Yeah.
You're given absolutely nothing other than just ambiance. Susan Sarandon fucking owning the screen. David
Yeah.
Bowie just absolutely being David Bowie and amazing.
Yeah.
And Catherine Deneuve being just one of the most attractive people on the universe.
All beautiful people in this film.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's this. If I may, Paul, this
Yeah.
film has a special place in my heart. I hope that you were pleasantly surprised when I told you I'd seen it.
I was shocked.
Yeah, and let me tell you why. Because this movie came out in 1983.
Yes.
All right. I graduated high school in 1988. In 1989, I was in college my freshman year. My now wife, Jen, said one day, "Hey, there's some movies I want you to see." And she, several of these movies, actually, Paul, you're gonna hear us suggestions for what the hell did I just watch?
Okay.
And this movie was like the third one that she showed me, and I was like, what? I remember thinking, what the hell is happening in this movie? Like, what is this about? But I couldn't deny that it was like, it's just there. It's about mood and it's about beautiful people. And then you were like, oh, it's about vampires. Like,
yeah,
it's just like, what is going on?
Yeah,
but no, I mean, she's the one that introduced me to this film. And I'll never forget because I clearly remember it was my freshman year in college when she showed it to me.
Yeah, look, I literally. I will refuse to believe anybody who watches this movie 40 minutes in and knows what Catherine Deneuve and David Bowie are doing in this movie.
No, I'd be like, you read Wikipedia. So.
And if you're 40 minutes in and I hit pause and said, okay, project the rest of the movie. You're not coming anywhere near anything of what actually happens in the movie at the end of the movie, because every minutia of plot, and I only say that because there's only a minutia of plot that is revealed in the first 40 minutes of the movie. Like, you genuinely believe that what Susan Sarandon's up to is the main thrust of the film, and it definitely is not.
It's not.
All right, and everything that Susan Sarandon does in the first act is completely ignored in the third act. Beyond ignored, doesn't come up.
It doesn't
isn't mentioned. Isn't just gone. It is impossible to watch the first act of this movie and maybe the first half of the second act of this movie, up until the point where Susan Sarandon and Catherine Deneuve meet. It is impossible to guess where is this movie going at the point because it just doesn't follow any sort of story convention.
Nope.
At all.
But
if you just want to see hot people and partially clothed people,
this is the film for you.
I cannot recommend this movie enough.
It really, it's one of those movies that when you can remember it this many years later.
Yeah.
It obviously made an impact.
Yeah. I mean, Susan Sarandon. I'm pulling up Susan Sarandon's filmography here. Just give me 1 second,
especially around that time.
Well, okay, so we know she was in Rocky Horror Picture shortly before this. Archive, no, not producer, not soundtrack. Come on, give me actress. There we go. Okay, so Lady Liberty. Where's Rocky Horror? These are all TV stuff. All right, so there's Rocky Horror, although she was in The Front Page, which I've never heard of, and The Great Waldo Pepper, which I've never heard of, and then she was in Dragonfly, which I've never heard of. Oh my God. Well, the late 70s were just bad for her.
Right.
She was in Atlantic City. I've heard of that before. And then The Hunger in 80. Like, wow. Her filmography is insane. Like, I can't believe all of the nothing movies that didn't register on the planet.
Well, and I wouldn't say that this film put her on the map either. I mean, go further up and tell me, what is the first title you see that you could
The Witches of Eastwick. Exactly. Like, how did she even get that movie based off of this? And then a year later she's in Bull Durham, and then she's like impossible to not be like, oh, she could sell a movie.
Yeah.
You know. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
She was in a movie called White Palace. All right, I'm just gonna just really quick, and I'm totally off topic here now. She was in a movie, White Palace, was in theaters in November of 1990, and I know this because that's when I started working in a movie theater.
Okay,
and let me tell you, I knew absolutely nothing about White Palace, but I knew exactly when to walk by the movie theater where when Wayne Palace was playing. I knew
Oh,
exactly when to walk by. That is not a lie, 100% true. So there you go.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolute. Fantastic. Well, Paul, I would say that this one, I'm glad you did it. It
Yeah.
brought back memories, so
Oh
thank
my
you for
goodness.
that. And week to week, you can always find out what kind of weird things Paul's watching because he continues this journey. You've been at this for years now, so
I know.
thank you.
Yeah, and goddamn, it's on HBO Plus. Definitely don't miss the hunger.
Yeah, definitely check it out. I agree. All right. Well, with that, we now go to this week's final installment
Yeah, yeah,
of
yeah.
Real Alphabetical. We get to the letter Z. And Paul, listen, before I get into my thoughts on the movie Zodiac, I once again have to say thank you
You're
because
welcome.
throughout the journey of this particular project,
Yes.
you've introduced me to some amazing stuff.
Mm.
And how Zodiac doesn't end up on my radar at any point when it comes out, I'm almost ashamed, you know,
Like,
because
I just threw it out casually, like, "Oh, you've
yeah,
definitely seen Zodiac," because it was Z's, so I had to find something.
this movie hits on every single thing I love about films.
Yeah,
Talky,
yeah,
you know,
super talky.
expositional.
Yes.
It's, you know, about
Amazing
serial
acting.
killers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, amazing acting for sure. Listen, when you have Mark Ruffalo, um, Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, and I'm like, how did I miss this? Especially when you consider, you know, I love movies like Spotlight, you know,
Uh-huh.
anything that has to do with journalism, all the
Yeah,
presidents, man.
it's got all of that.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that I loved about Zodiac when I saw it was just again, I know some history about serial killers and
Mhm,
you know
mhm.
the whole notion of this was an unsolved mystery, an unsolved crime
Yeah,
or a slate of crimes, a killing spree.
yeah.
So to see that dramatized and then with the focus being on the deterioration that it causes amongst the people involved in reporting on these events and investigating them, it just you realize it isn't about the serial killer. It's
Mhm.
about the way in which those who dedicated their lives to trying to not just report on it but to prove something, you know, that the person had been identified, right?
Right.
It's such an interesting film, well, so well acted.
Yeah,
And yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed this movie
yeah.
I bought it. And so I'm gonna
Sweet.
get to go back to it time and time again because
You will. I know you will.
again, I'm like, I sat there going, I'm ashamed I didn't see this before. Like
Yeah.
I
But hey, we got to talk about it here.
right,
This is one of those classic movies where it's like, I know that this isn't really how it happened and like
right,
they're dramatizing, but I
sure.
so wish this is exactly how it happened
Yeah,
because the
exactly.
dramatization of how it really happened is really fucking cool
Oh,
and
absolutely.
very fascinating and
Yeah,
absolutely captivating.
yeah,
And I just want it to be like 50% is cool. And it's like
yeah.
2% is cool. When you
Right.
sit down and look at it.
Right, because I mean, it's all in real life. It's more procedural, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But the and the way it captures moments, that last scene where there's where the you know the he's staring at the suspect, and there's no contact between them. It's just that eye contact. You know, these are the kind of things that a movie like this does well because you know I've often talked on the show about how I'm not a fan of the abrupt end to a film. This one it doesn't do an abrupt end, but it sort of closes it and leaves it to you as the audience to form your own thoughts.
Yeah.
And even if you go and you read the history of this particular serial killer and the crime spree and so forth, the movie does a great job of helping you feel how frustrating this all must be for people who were involved, for people who investigated, and it's just so well acted. I mean,
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo, come on.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, well, we'll talk about him more one of these days. But
Yeah.
yeah, this was great. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and it was a perfect way to close out the series.
For sure.
So thank you.
Thank you for not having seen it before.
Right. Yes. Sometimes my failures turn into surprise.
The Z's, you know,
That must have been tough. Yeah.
tough sledding with
Had
the
to have been
Z's.
tough. I'm
Yeah.
thankful it wasn't Zoolander 2. So
I've never seen it, so I would not be able to give that
awesome.
to you. So
Fantastic. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
you.
But then again,
All right.
before we started doing this podcast, I hadn't seen a single fucking Fast and Furious movie. And now I've seen all 9,
No, you've seen all of
and
them.
I'm gonna have to go see 10.
Yes,
God
absolutely.
damn it.
Well, speaking of series,
Yes.
I'm excited about next week.
Yeah,
because we're gonna John Wick it up, right?
Yeah, we're just gonna look. We had to come up with a thing. There is no thing we need to come up with. We're just gonna spooge on John Wick for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
and it's gonna be glorious.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah. Paul, I really I get excited for these films. I really do. This is one of those franchises that
Can you believe I didn't see a single one of them in theaters? This would be my first one in theater. Like the third one came out. Like I was just like, oh, come on. Wow. And then somebody's like, no, you would love it. And it's somebody who I just genuinely like knew I would love it. And I went, this is one of those I went and bought sight unseen. Like I went and bought immediately as soon as John Wick 3 came out on Blu-ray, I bought the day that it came out on Blu-ray, I bought it. And I watched them all 3 within 3 nights. It was like, holy shit. My mind was melting. I was like, how did I not see these?
Yeah.
So
we won't get into it now, but I'm excited to talk about this film for so many reasons, or this series for so many reasons. And I'm just hoping beyond hope that this 4th installment delivers just like the other 3 have. So I'm excited. So next week, make sure you join us because we will be talking all things John Wick. And there's
one thing I want to mention.
Sure.
Going back to Oscars, on HBO Max this weekend arrived a one of the documentaries, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed, which is about Nan Golden. I finally got to see it, and I can't fathom somebody who had seen this and then seen Navalny, and I can't fathom what that person is thinking. We're like, I'm going to go ahead and vote for Navalny. Like, All the Beauty and the Bloodshed is just it almost makes me not mad that they didn't nominate Moon Age Daydream, other than the fact that All the Beauty and the Bloodshed didn't win. So
gotcha.
Yeah,
gotcha.
Check it out.
Checking it out then. Yeah, absolutely. I've heard a lot, obviously. So, all right. Well, another episode is in the books. Once again, Paul, I have to say this. Thank you so much for the Real Alphabetical Journey. It just introduced me to so much good stuff. Next week, I will be introducing a new segment, and I am happy and proud to say that the creator of that one is my lovely wife, Jen. So we'll talk about what that's going to be next week, Paul. And maybe you'll get some films out of this series.
Well, I've told you got to let me know what they're going to be so that.
That's right. That's right. Please, I will do. I think you'll. I'm curious to see your responses because my wife and I have completely different tastes,
and that's fine. Look, I know that she's a Mean Girls person, so it can't be all bad.
I'm happy that she's happy that she now is going to have a way to make me see films that I would otherwise have said no to. So it's going to be a fun time. I have to come up with a catchy name for it, but
don't say Jen's picks because it's going to make me think of Perry's picks from the.
Oh gosh, no.
Okay.
And I will share with you that she has expressed interest that at some point within the series she'll make a couple of appearances with us.
How about Serious Gingery?
Oh man, I think I like that.
I do too.
I think I like that.
I wouldn't have mentioned it, said it out loud on the show, on the live broadcast if I didn't.
Well, especially, I mean, Gingery is like, if you think back to her Derby name,
right?
It works out perfectly. So
that's what I'm thinking of.
I love it.
Might as well tie it in.
Indeed.
Get into our ruts.
All right, I'll go run it by her right now.
For roots.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, as always, Paul, it's fantastic. I look forward to next week when we do this once again. But to all of you out there, we thank you for being with us. Wherever you're watching us, make sure on YouTube, click on that subscribe button and the notification bell. And go to the movies, check them out, find out what
people go to the movies.
The theater. Yeah,
I am having such I just love every week going to the movies right now. It's great. It's just
Yeah, I don't know if I should say this already, but I was I was able to get an early screening of Dungeons and Dragons with Chris Pine. Amazon Prime did a thing, and my friend George, you've met George, he invited me, and won't say nothing, but
I've heard some things.
go. Yeah,
I've heard some
people
things.
go. I hope people go. The theater was packed.
Yeah,
and it wasn't free. You had to pay, for the tickets, but it was a special.
I probably could have gotten in on that.
Yeah, Fuck. It was. I didn't know anything about it until I got invited. But Amazon Prime had an event, and dude, don't miss it. So
okay,
we'll do it on our QR for.
I mean, we're definitely doing it, so it's fine. Yeah,
indeed. All right. Well, once again, to all of you out there, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you being here. But most importantly, don't forget, you are awesome, you're amazing, and the world's a better place because you are in it. We will see you next time on Real to Real Talk. Have a great night, everybody. Good night.